Yeah, we straight chillin', serial killing, pre-cold villains on the mic, got you reeling. 5-star rated from the floor to the ceiling. If you catch a 1-star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ on the ones and twos, by the name Beelzebub, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all over two, and prepare to hear the legend of the straight chillin' crew.
What up, nerds, and welcome to another sponsored episode of Straight Chilling. This week's show is brought to you by Hasbro. When you play games, everybody wins. My name's Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode number 373, recorded Monday, May 30th, 2022. Tonight, we're talking about another Patreon pick. This one was chosen by Nate S. The movie is 1985's Clue. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got our boy, Randu. What's up?
I'm sorry. Was that a unauthorized advertisement in our podcast? You taking kickbacks from Big Hasbro right now, buddy?
Yeah, somebody's got to buy all these baby blues, and it's Hasbro. Thanks.
What are you building an ark out of them? What the fuck?
An ark for all of us.
Sail your ass to safety in lieu of your Kawasaki.
Randy, you're the host that lives in DC, so you're obviously either being blackmailed or blackmailing someone.
I mean, that's just that. I mean, you had to claim that as part of the house buying process here. So yeah. What are you being blackmailed for? For how much? Okay, we're factoring that into your loan assignment.
That's dirty enough. We'll sell you this home. Last but not least, calling in from South Korea, we got our boy Soju. What's up, man?
Oh, what up? It's your boy, Clue Goo Stains. On a raging clue, boys.
I've got a raging
Clue Goo Stains.
Oh my god.
There's a lot to unpack in that one.
I thought Rob would like that one.
Dude,
Yeah,
classic,
of course he would.
Classic South Park
How
reference.
many times can we say I've got a raging clue today?
Not enough.
You're starting off strong with 2 in the first 5 minutes.
Let's make it a cool does.
A cool.
If that's the case, you might as well just rattle them off now.
No
need for
work 'em
organicness.
Gotta work them in.
God.
Oh,
Fucking
boys.
artists.
Oh god.
Fucking artists.
The culture! No! I love that bump stuck around. That's fantastic. Oh man. Before we get into the review, let's tackle some housekeeping real quick. By the time you're listening to this, the poll will actually be closed. At the time of recording, there's a couple days left to vote in our June poll. Randu, this was your takeover month. Why don't you tell everybody what the dealio is?
Okay, well, like you said, at this point, it's a little superfluous, but here's what the poll is. It's the made for TV horror month. So we have films made specifically for televised purposes, including BBC's Threads, including Steven Spielberg's Duel, and including the third option that I cannot stop forgetting. Help me.
Body bags.
Body bags. John Carpenter's Body Bags. Or John Carpenter
Tea-bags?
Body Bags. Yeah. Tea bags. You know?
Tea bags, the movie.
John Carpenter's Tea Bags. Okay, yeah. So yeah, those are our picks. And Bob, I don't know. Last I heard, Threads was handily taking things to town here.
It
Yeah,
was
that
close
is
last time I checked.
that is
Was
no
it?
longer the case. It's
Really?
only winning
Oh.
by a single vote again. So I don't know. It's coming down to the
Okay.
wire. We'll
Yeah, that's
see.
what I was okay. Yeah,
Is
that's what I was saying.
Is it a reshuffling of votes or just more votes counted? Do you know?
Just more votes
Okay.
counted. So people
Fair
are still voting. There's still more people to vote for sure. So we'll see what wins the June poll. But at the time you're listening, that means our July poll is currently posted over on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get a chance to vote on our July poll. The theme for July is Animals Run Amok, and the 3 movies to vote between are Arachnophobia, Island of Dr. Moreau, and Lake Placid.
Whoa, Bob.
That's the 90s Moreau, isn't it?
Yeah, 1996
Just
6,
double
I
checking
think.
that
Yeah.
we are
Yeah,
laying that down for people.
Nope, the
Yeah.
30s.
Actually,
God
Hell yeah.
damn, we need to take that down as coach.
all 3 of those
Nope.
movies are from the 90s, and that was sort of accidental on our part. But
Actually, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I guess that's true.
Not-
And I'm still a little conflicted because I also kind of wanted to pick Congo, but that also would have fit for the 90s.
Yeah.
Wow. We're
yeah,
Even
slaves to our past, aren't we?
alternatives.
we
Juice is slave
truly
to our
are.
pasts.
I am
Rob.
a slave to y'all's past.
Yep. There we go.
Indeed. In other Patreon news, we did drop a brand new mini cast last week. Juice was talking about a movie called You Won't Be Alone. What the hell is that about, Juice?
Oh, Robert, that's a movie high above your understanding level.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
I'm just a dummy over here. I can't understand these highfalutin art house movies. What's happening? Please tell me so, Jay.
I hate him
Yeah,
for it,
this is an art house movie that is not released by A24. Collective
but wait a
gasp.
minute.
Wait.
How can you be this pompous outside of the A24
I
heading?
know.
How is
There's
it
others.
possible?
There's dozens of us.
Elevated my ass.
The colors, Duke. The colors.
Yeah, I've talked about this a few times. A couple, like, I still don't feel like a lot of people have seen it, which actually is kind of good because it's a couple people have reached out on Slack and be like, hey, I haven't watched this yet. You know, really, should I watch it before I listen to the mini cast? I was saying, like, it's one of my favorite films, you know, of the year so far. Spoiler for the mini cast, but I thought it was really good. I definitely don't think it's like got this big mass appeal though. I could definitely see why someone would watch it and be like, oh, I didn't like that. So but it's a witch story. It's very kind of like folklore based. It uses this like Macedonian language, so you know there are subtitles and stuff like that. But I found it quite unique and quite beautiful and very interesting. And so, yeah, if you get an opportunity, I would recommend people check that out. And then if you do, you can hear my thoughts on Patreon.
Sweet deal. Slam that into your ear holes. I got a couple other things here. That's about all we have for Patreon.
Okay.
But we did drop a brand new episode of Let's Get Physical Media this week.
Bob, do you know what episode you're up to at this point?
That was episode 33, but we've done several bonus episodes too, so we've released more than that.
Gotcha.
But Mikey and I are talking about our April pickups. There's like, I don't know, 20 some odd titles that we get into. Some good, some not so good. So check that out. Let's Get Physical Media. If you are into Blu-rays, 4Ks, DVDs, all that stuff, collecting them, that's what we are about. You can get that anywhere you get your podcasts.
Thank God you guys are there to really, you know, archive these movies that you yourself hate. That's really good of you. Thanks.
Well, you know, you got to roll the dice sometimes. You can't just, they can't all be winners.
Bob, you're telling me you buy telling me you buy subpar products, Bob? Is that what you're telling me?
Products. Yes, products. This product is subpar.
I'm sorry. You're saying that derisively like a fucking Blu-ray disc is not a product that you have purchased. You have participated in commerce. Let's own that.
This is
The
heaven,
product-
Brandy.
The product is fine. Like you can like a movie or dislike a movie. It doesn't mean that like the disc is fucking broken in half when you get it.
Okay.
The only other thing I have here is we're not doing our Joe Bob watch party this Friday, June 3rd, but we will be picking up the following Friday, the 10th. So mark your calendars for that.
Really dropping the ball.
I know, dropping all the balls.
Mm.
That's all I got. You guys have anything else you want to mention?
When do we?
I got a real gnarly rash on my back. What should I do about that?
God damn!
Actually,
Spray some Clue glue on it.
I don't
Yeah.
think.
Okay.
I don't think we announced it since it was released. But Bob, you have a brand new video on YouTube. I think we released it in anticipation of the video dropping. So we might as well mention that again.
Yeah.
there is a new YouTube video up. That's youtube.com/straight chilling podcast. Headed back to the old haunted hideaway, talking about a cocktail that was inspired by the movie we covered last week, the old Belial. We still got a couple bumps laying around, thank God. There it is. So wonderful. Bob, why don't you tell us about that cocktail you're brewing out for us?
Yeah, over at the Haunted Hideaway, we celebrate the crossover between tiki and horror, which definitely does exist, which is kind of a bizarre mixture of things. But I put together a cocktail called the Belial, which was inspired by the movie Basket Case we just covered. And if you are into rum or tiki or horror or just watching my dumbass talk to you on YouTube, you can definitely check that out. And if you do make the recipe at home, let us know if you like it. Let us know if you hate it. Let us know if you made it yourself, put a little spin on it, and improved it. Share the recipe. Definitely down for all the feedback. Check that shit out.
Dope. Since I haven't been able to make a lot of content this year, we kind of neglect mentioning the YouTube page, which has quite a bit of extra content on there. So if you ever want some extra spookiness, head on over to youtube.com/straight chillin' podcast. That is all my housekeeping.
Same.
His house is clean.
All right, let's get into the main event. We're talking about Clue from 1985, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Nicely timed on that second bump, Randy.
You know, I don't know why anybody ever doubted me.
Yeah, this movie is rated PG. We don't cover a whole lot of PG movies on our podcast.
Good call. Yeah, we don't.
This is from 1985 with a runtime of 1 hour and 34 minutes, directed by Jonathan Lynn. This was written by John Landis, Jonathan Lynn, and Anthony E. Pratt. Stars Eileen Brennan, Tim Curry, Madeline Kahn, Christopher Lloyd, Michael McKean,
Martin Mull.
All the famous, wonderful people are in this movie. Plot synopsis brought to you by the back of the box is as follows. Here's the murderously funny movie based on the world famous Clue board game, and now with this special DVD version, you can see all 3 surprise endings. Was it Colonel Mustard in the study with a gun, Miss Scarlet in the billiard room with a rope, or was it Wadsworth the butler? Meet all the notorious suspects and discover all their foul playthings. You'll love their dastardly doings as the bodies and the laughs pile up before your eyes, featuring all 3 surprise endings, in case you didn't get that before when they tell you, like they say it again. Jill Mangs, here's a silly question. Have you seen this movie before, and would you recommend people check it out? Randy, kick us off.
I mean, we have certainly sat in the same room and viewed this film a number of times. So yes, we have seen it. I could be mistaken, but Bob, I think that I introduced you to this film, maybe? Is that right?
No, I remember having a conversation when we were like, I don't know, 15 or something. And you were like, hey, I really like this movie, Clue. And I was like, no shit, me too. And then we like kind of bonded over it and then watched it together like a dozen times probably.
Yeah, it's I'm sorry, I misremembered that, I guess. But it's definitely a comfort movie for me. This is a desert island movie probably for me. I warts and all, and this movie is not by any means a perfect film, except in my heart. But this is a movie that I would recommend to just about anybody. Like you said, it's PG. I think that your mileage may vary on this, and I think that a lot of my love definitely comes from the nostalgia goggles of having watched it. Like, I remember renting this from Blockbuster a half dozen times, easy. Me and my sister would watch this ad nauseum. She is the biggest Clue fan that I know. So yeah, I mean, all that said, yeah, I definitely recommend it. I think it's a good, spooky adjacent film to watch, especially with younger people. As a matter of fact, we had Becky's cousin come and stay with us, who's about 15 years old, and we got to introduce them to this movie. So that was pretty cool. It's just a good family affair. I recommend.
Hughes, what about you?
Yeah, I would recommend this generally. I think this truly is kind of like a movie that feels like it's from a bygone era already. I was thinking if anyone tried to make, if anyone today said, I'm going to make a Clue video game, it would be like some CGI monstrosity. I mean, a Clue movie based on the game. Sorry, not a video game. I don't know.
They are trying to remake it, actually, with Ryan Reynolds as Wadsworth.
That's been in the rumor mill for about a decade at this point, though.
For a while, yeah.
So for some reason, I just kept thinking about like the Emojis film. I was like, God, it would be, those just these terrible Bobo ass movies. But this kind of like small little production, the comedy based, but also a little spooky and just wacky. Tim Curry is up. I'll always recommend Tim Curry. He's so young in this. It's wild to see.
Yeah.
But, it was a lot of fun. Again, I always have a lot of fun watching it. And I think it's not this like bust a gut, like kill you kind of movie, but it's really like delightful. It's just I don't know. So yeah, I would recommend. Bob, silly question, would you recommend people check out Clue Goo?
Yes, I definitely recommend you check out Clue Goo.
All right, that's 6.
I love this movie. Similar to Randy, I've seen it 20 times. I don't know, man. Like I caught it on HBO, I think, when I was a kid for the first time. They used to air it quite a bit. And I just always really enjoyed it. It is quaint. It's like extremely well written. It's very smart, and Tim Curry steals the show. I mean, it's loaded with amazing performances, but Tim Curry in this movie is just like next level. I definitely recommend it for just about anybody. I don't even have any asterisks to throw out there like we typically do. I don't want to qualify it. I think pretty much anybody and everybody will get something out of this. So hard recommend from the Straight Chilling crew.
I want to double down real quick on if you have kids that you want to get interested in spooky stuff, kids that like Scooby-Doo and things like that. Yeah. This is a pretty good starter course. This is my starter course, as a matter of fact. So I just want to put that out there, in case anybody's looking for that sort of thing, which we've had a few people come to the Slack and ask that question.
I mean, you actually could say that this is a raging Clue recommendation from the Straight Chilling crew.
You could make the choice to say that 12 times in an hour.
Yeah, if you want your kid to grow up and be exactly like Randy, show them Clue immediately.
You just unsold all these DVDs. I think the cart is now empty.
Damn.
Yeah, that's a solid raging recommendation from the Straight Chilling crew. Let's drop that spoiler warning and get into the rest of the movie.
Spoiler warning.
I'm pretty excited to hear this synopsis because I can't imagine it's an easy one to distill down unless you skip like some key things.
It's not too bad. I tried to make it as brief as possible, but as we have already mentioned, it literally has 3 endings. I do want to ask off the top, have you guys ever watched this movie with just one ending? Have you ever done that?
Mm-hmm.
No.
You have?
I have. Yeah. I mean, I did when the DVDs finally came out and they gave the option of you could watch just one at random. I definitely tried it out a couple times. It is by far the inferior way of watching this movie, and it is, to me, like it's the number one issue that I'm sure plagued this movie on theater release. As much as it's a cool conceit and idea and gimmick, it is not an easily executed thing, and the different endings vary in quality wildly. So it does need all 3 to my mind.
That is the thing. It's like if they did them as big as like the one, or as well as if they were like more unique, then it could be more appealing. But it would just
they literally
like
reuse
such
some
a
jokes and
bust, to watch it with just one ending, especially if you're paying to see it in the theater. God damn.
I would have paid money though to watch people confusedly talk to their nephew or their uncle who watched it at a different theater and be like, "No, what the fuck are you talking about?"
Did we watch the same movie? In fact, you did not watch the same movie.
Anyway, go ahead.
I wanted to ask that out the gate. So I am going to synopsize all 3 endings here. So the movie starts 1954. 6 guests arrive at a New England house and are assigned a pseudonym when greeted by the butler, Wadsworth. We have Colonel Mustard, Miss White, Miss Peacock, Mr. Green, Professor Plum, and Miss Scarlet. The guests don't know why they've been brought together, but when the 7th guest finally arrives, by the name of Mr. Body, Wadsworth reveals he has been blackmailing all of them. Wadsworth has also called the police. They are due to arrive in 45 minutes. And when they do arrive, they can corroborate they've all been blackmailed by Mr. Body, and he will then be arrested. Mr. Body threatens he will expose all of them if he's arrested. He then gives all 6 guests a gift in the form of a murder weapon. He says if somebody kills Wadsworth, they can all leave and maintain their secrets. Mr. Body then turns out the lights, and when they come back on, he lays dead on the floor. The group now has to solve the murder before the police arrive, and the first person they suspect is the cook, but they find her stabbed to death in the freezer. Mr. Body's corpse also disappears, but is later found bleeding from the head in the bathroom. This leads the squad to believe he, in fact, was not dead earlier, but certainly is now. Wadsworth locks all the weapons in a cupboard. He attempts to throw away the key, but is interrupted by a stranded motorist at the door. The motorist makes a phone call in the lounge, and he's locked in while the group splits up into 4 groups of 2, and they search the house. The motorist is killed and discovered by Mustard and Scarlet. Yvette, the maid, finds the cabinet now unlocked, grabs the gun, and shoots the lounge door, freeing Mustard and Scarlet. A police officer then arrives investigating the abandoned car. He asks to use the phone. He picks up the phone when it's ringing, and J. Edgar Hoover is on the other line. They lock the cop in the library and resume their search of the house. Someone turns off the lights again. Yvette, the cop, and a singing telegram girl are then all killed before the lights come back on. Wadsworth and the others regroup, and he claims to know who the killer is and begins recounting the events of the evening. And then we have ending A. Yvette killed the cook and Mr. Body on Scarlet's orders, whom she used to work for. Scarlet killed the other victims and planned to sell the squad's secrets for profit. While Wadsworth and Scarlet bicker about the number of bullets left in the gun, the police storm the house, arresting Scarlet, and Wadsworth is revealed to be an undercover FBI agent. And then we have ending B. Miss Peacock killed everybody to conceal her taking bribes from foreign entities. As she leaves the house, Wadsworth reveals he is an undercover FBI agent, and she is arrested. Ending C, everybody killed somebody. Plum killed Body for blackmail. Peacock killed the cook, who was a former employee. Mustard killed the motorist, who was a former driver. White killed Yvette, who was having an affair with her husband. Scarlet killed the cop because she was bribing him. Wadsworth kills the telegram girl, who was Professor Plum's patient, and he was having an affair with her. He then reveals he is not Wadsworth, but he is Mr. Body. The other Mr. Body was his butler. Mr. Body tricked everybody into killing all of his informants, and he plans to continue blackmailing them. Mr. Green then draws a revolver and kills Wadsworth, revealing himself to be an FBI agent. Green opens the door, and the authorities storm the house, arresting everybody as Green proudly announces he is going home to sleep
Okay,
with
Chief,
his
take him away.
wife.
I'm going to go home and sleep with my wife.
Precisely. Roll credits. So
Yeah, that's a lot, man.
yeah.
Damn, these people are confusing.
So that's the thing is like with this movie, I saw this as a young kid. There is a sub-zero chance that I understood any of this. I doubt that I understood what blackmail was when I first saw this movie, or like what being from Washington, D.C. could mean, or like what like the World Health Organization is. I did not know what communism is, and they make jokes about communism throughout.
Socialist,
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, there's a lot. That's the thing. At least for me, the beauty of this movie is not at all in the story. And while there is a lot of dry wit going throughout this, and it in moments it's very, very clever and funny. The plot of this, it's brilliant in that it keeps itself open to the multiple interpretations that are the core conceit of making this movie. Or that was at least the gimmick that they had from the outset. They keep it open-ended. This is not a Poirot murder where you can find the clues and distill who exactly killed who with precision. This is a game of pin the tail on the donkey. Really, you get whatever you want at the end, and they can make it fit. So the details, they don't matter. Like the things that matter are the experience of watching this, the feel, the tone of the house, the little like jabs that people make at each other. The physical comedy, my God, is so top notch in some of this.
I want to sort of piggyback off of what you're getting at here. And like something this movie does that's it's extremely interesting to me is like this movie is a murder mystery. It's a whodunit. And like more often than not, when you watch those types of movies, you're waiting for the killer to be revealed and you're trying to play the game and figure out who the killer is as it's happening. But like once you find out who the killer is and you watch those movies once, you don't really, or at least I don't really want to watch them again because like, you know, the ending is kind of spoiled and the game is no longer fun. This movie does not do that. Like the ending almost doesn't matter to this movie, and it sort of lends itself to like just repeat viewings over and over again because it's got like multiple endings. Some are better than others, but really like when the ending specifically comes around, you don't care who the killer is. You care about watching Wadsworth just annihilate the scenery. That's like
Mr.
really what's engaging. Yeah, and all of the characters are fucking killing it. I don't want to, you know, just say it's just Wadsworth's show, but like specifically when he's doing his like, I'm going to unveil what's happened this evening. Like you don't really care who did it. You just want to watch him explain it. And I think it's a really interesting way to like tackle a murder mystery where like the mystery almost doesn't matter. I don't know. It's,
you know, I kind of like I slightly disagree in that like when I find out who the killer is in Orient Express, you know, like I like any of those adaptations are, you know, roughly the same story, obviously, because they're from the books, and rewatching them or watching another interpretation of them or whatever, any of it, like I could rewatch those, you know what I mean? Like I could not rewatch them 25 times though. This movie invites not just multiple viewing. To me, this is like what like Ghostbusters is to some people. You know, this is something you can throw on anytime, order a pizza, grab a drink, and have a great time. That is the space this lives in. This is not at all about deducing anything as an audience member, and which works great for me because I am a stupid man. As a full-grown adult, I could not at all solve any Poirot murders or any like I don't know Charlie Chan or anything like that. Like I couldn't do any of that. And what this movie doesn't do, which I appreciate, having seen the production of Murder by Death, that was, you know, sort of a similar feeling comedy parody of you know, these mystery novels and films that brought like what that movie did. If you haven't seen it, I don't personally like it, but a lot of people do, I guess. It has a lot of like really good talent, just like this movie. It brings them to a haunted-y, like spooky mansion there, but all the characters are based off of like Poirot or Charlie Chan or Sam Spade or these actual like either literary or film characters that are detectives. And man, it just doesn't they don't play off each other as funny as you think, and it becomes so slapstick. Like not this movie becomes slapstick too, but it becomes like Airplane level slapstick where it's like things just don't just not make sense. It's like winking at the camera a lot and doing a lot more than I think is necessary to make it funny. This has a lot more dry wit. You get to live in the environment of the film, even if it doesn't hold together perfectly.
Well, and I would
that's kind of a long-winded thing.
I think talking about the fact that this is made from a board game that doesn't, I mean, it has a general kind of premise, but I just made a note that this is a really smart way to turn this into a game. So talking about how from a game to make this a movie from a game, because to say that the ending doesn't really matter and who the killer is, it's true. But I mean, they still set up a solid story that makes sense for what's happening around you. It was easy for me to accept the explanation, especially when the weapons come out. Like, how are you going to work in these very specific weapons that come from this game with these type of characters? And I thought that they did a brilliant kind of job with that. You know, like, I'm going to turn off these lights and you kill this guy, or where we all walk out of here. We've all got this distinct thing. So I was like, that's so clever. And a lot of this movie is clever, even in its wit. It's very quick-witted sometimes. It doesn't solely rely on the slapstick comedy, but it's got it in there too. So as I don't know, it just like I think that even though if you don't know what's going on, that charming kindness, the kind of cleverness behind all of this, because as a kid you would know the game, or that's probably why you're watching this. Oh, there's a Clue board game, I played that. There's a Clue movie, and so at least it gives you that too, even if you don't know what communism is or blackmail or stuff like that. You get like what's going on, and it's done in a pretty smart, clever way, I think.
I agree.
Yeah, this movie is like, not just because the ending doesn't necessarily matter to me anyways. I think it warrants multiple watches because it's so well written and so well performed that there's a lot of like very small jokes that like sort of fall through the cracks on your first viewing, I think, where like you pick up more and more as it goes. Like whenever, like every single guest as they arrive, like Wadsworth steps in dog poop earlier in the movie, and they like all kind of smell it and they check their shoes, and it's like this, like not spoken but like very subtle like joke that happens throughout the first, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes of the movie. And
it's
then
a subtle poo joke, which is great.
When Yvette shows up, like everybody like sort of glances at her cleavage, which is abundant, and like there's just all these like little like nobody says anything about it. You just kind of like see these people react to these strangers as they arrive at this house, and I love that entrance. And they all sit down, and you had a letter, and you had a letter, and you had a letter, and you had a letter. Like, it's fantastic.
Wordplay is at the fore of the comedy in this movie too. Like,
yeah.
It's like this movie kind of does the same level of job, I would say, as like Arrested Development's early seasons, where it's all about misunderstandings, wordplay, followed by like complete slapstick nonsense. Like they intertwine perfectly. You have, like moments like when they're divvying up, they're drawing lots to see who gets paired with who to search the house, or they're about to do that rather. They're like, oh, we need to who goes with who, blah, blah, blah. And Yvette goes, I don't want to go alone. Will anybody go with me? And Mr. Green goes, or no, Mr. Colonel Mustard goes, I will. And Professor Plum goes, I will. And Mr. Green goes, no, thank you. Who had just revealed he's a homosexual. And it's like, like, I don't know. There's like just these little like baby, there's that. And then there's also, they hear screaming downstairs, and the two groups that are in the upstairs levels run and just collide into each other in this absolutely perfect group pratfall, which would be really hard to replicate in a funny way, in my opinion. I don't know, man.
There was one I took a note on where it's funny because it's PG, but it has this, adult content, but also it pairs in well with this kind of timing and also visual comedy of when they're talking about Miss White, and then her husband, like what her whole situation is. And then it's like, oh, he's dead. Oh, his head was cut off, and his, and they imply like his dick is cut off or whatever. And then all three of the men like cross their legs immediately. But it's this awesome setup joke of, it's got this adult content, but it's not explicitly said. And she kind of crosses her eyes a little bit and gives this funny little look. And then immediately on the beat, everyone like kind of cross their legs. It's well put together comedy and delivered.
I would argue that this movie also, comparing it to make another comparison, I think this movie is to the murder mystery film story genre what Futurama is to sci-fi, where it's incredibly clever and incredibly stupid. It's smart people writing stupid things. It's like, I love that about it. Like, again, to make another comparison, like they have these little like Wadsworth says, oh, my wife, she had friends who were socialists, and everybody gasps in horror. And he's like, oh, well, no, there's nobody's that. And then there's in the same dinner scene, you have this moment where Colonel Mustard is like, oh, I prefer Kipling myself, the deadliest species. No, wait, what is it? The female of the species is more deadly than the male, which is like poetry they're referencing Tennyson, they're referencing Kipling. And then there's a joke of him saying, do you like Kipling, Miss Scarlett? And she says, sure, I'll eat anything. And then like immediately after that, you have a moment where Mrs. White and Professor Plum start slurping their soup like lunatics, and everybody's just staring at them in horror. It's just these little like dry moments. This movie lives in moments.
Now, I will say one thing that kind of caught me a little bit by surprise, or I was thinking like, man, this would hamper the theater experience, I guess, is I was looking and I was watching on my computer, and it was the total time was an hour 36 minutes. Okay.
Mhm.
But it was probably around like an hour 8-ish minutes, an hour 6, where he starts explaining it, but that's with the 3 endings included. So if you just go with the Miss Scarlet ending or the or the Miss Peacock ending, then you're looking at a movie that's not even an hour 20, and when they're put together and you're watching them back to back to back, starting this reveal where you pretty much sum up just the past 50 minutes that you watched, it can be tedious, and it is a bit of a hamper on this overall movie. If you could cut that and just include the main ending, then it's great, but nothing ever really kind of shows it that way anymore. That I've never, like Bob would say, have you ever seen it with just one? I never have.
I think
So I've always
everybody
viewed it that way. So it can be tedious in that way.
I don't think that it even works once it leaves the first run of the theater. Like, I don't know why anybody would want to see less than all of it if they paid money for it. So if you're doing a revival at a theater, you got to show all 3. And if you're showing it on cable or whatever, or like HBO or whatever, you got to show all 3 because otherwise you're just missing kind of key. I don't know. I don't think that there's anybody, I don't know of anybody who thinks that the cut down paired version is superior. And what's crazy, it's honestly insane that this movie survived that, what I would consider poor decision, all things considered. If they had just released this movie as it is now, I think it would have been a much bigger splash in the box office, a much bigger splash amongst viewers. You got to think like this wasn't that long. Like, this was around the era of like Ghostbusters and things like that. You watch those movies and they're great in their own way, but they're not like mind-blowing in and of themselves. You grow to love them, and I grew to love this one as a kid. I don't know.
I might disagree with that
those
a little bit. I think kind of to my point is, I mean, it's not that long anyways, but I was saying it can get tedious. It's like I probably wouldn't mind watching a version of this that just had one ending, that was the Tim Curry is Mr. Body.
Oh, like the
or whatever
ending.
without the Miss Peacock ending, without the Scarlet ending, because those aren't as memorable or impactful or that particularly interesting. But if you did cut it down, then you would be looking at a movie that's maybe only around an hour 15 minutes, which is super, super slim. Especially
actually, that's a great
the
point.
last ending is a summary of the movie. Played in a crazy way by Tim Curry, but it still takes about like 8 minutes for him to do it. So I mean,
but it's also like the best part of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is charming and great. I'm just saying, like, when you already have a slim movie and that's the last 10 minutes of it, then it's like, okay, this movie is lacking a little bit. I could see.
I will agree that if I wish that all 3 endings were of the same caliber. That's what's like, I guess maybe that's why they have to be viewed together also, because if you just got cursed by watching just the Peacock ending, there's like one joke in that ending that is not found in other endings that I think is like absolutely hilarious. And that's when Wadsworth goes out, she gets arrested by all these cops, and Wadsworth says, "We're like the Mounties, we always get our man." And Mr. Green says, "Mrs. Peacock was a man?" And then he gets slapped twice by multiple people for his idiocy. I love that. And I like having that, like, and the thing is, like, it's a shorter ending. That's this, even the way they shoot it is less beautiful. I was noticing this time, like, the true ending with Wadsworth or whatever, they do a lot more tracking shots. They do a lot more with the camera because they want it to land. But the other ones, I don't think they really care if they land. They're just alternate endings that are to be spliced in for the unlucky few that don't get the good ending.
The concept of having multiple endings definitely was born from the board game and like the concept of the board game. but I think John Landis wanted to have it show in movie theaters with multiple endings, hoping that patrons would buy like several tickets and try and go watch all three, which apparently did not work at all. This movie was not very financially successful whatsoever. So his gimmick kind of backfired, I guess. But I think like watching all three in succession is absolutely fantastic, and it's one of the most original things about this movie.
Mhm.
And apparently, when they were writing it, they originally had written an ending for every single character, where like every character was the villain.
Oh my god!
And they ended up
That
not
would have gotten to
filming.
be too much.
I agree. They ended up not filming the majority of them because the runtime would have been on the opposite end of the spectrum, like far too long, well over 2 hours. So they just did the three and stuck with that. But yeah, I agree. If you don't get like the final Wadsworth ending and you're stuck with one of the other two, this movie is like definitively not as good, which is a bummer. I would hate to catch this in 1985 with not the right ending. That'd be a bummer.
The idea that go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that's just another idea though of this. That's not really something I don't think that you could do today. Let's make this movie on a board game. It's this really kind of like bottle situation where you're in thing, and then there's three different endings. Like you could never. You don't think? No? Okay.
Well, I think there is a pathway to where this idea could work. Here's the thing: is like conceptually speaking, like on a pure conceptual level, I really like it. Like I think it's like
I like
a
the
nifty
gimmick.
idea. It's experimental. It's
Me
like, you know, they
too.
tried something. And if they had my thought, the thing I'm thinking of when you said that is the choose your own adventure style thing on Netflix. I think it could work in that kind of form if they did all the character, if they did like 8 versions or whatever, and you could pick a random one or watch like the director's cut, which is the 3 that he chooses to be back to back or whatever, which is this. You know, I think there's a pathway to where it could work. It makes things more confusing and it makes it less of a film. Like it makes it more of a like an interactive thing. I don't know that it would have had, you know, the same shot of being profitable or being worthwhile. I don't know if it would have worked either, but I think it's possible that it could have worked in that format. I just don't know that it would have had the same access to clout that it gets from being like in its own way kind of a typical movie. I like the experimental nature of it though. It's like the Bandersnatch thing. Like I like doing that, even if that story kind of suffers because they did that. I also kind of like the experience of doing that and the concept of the conceit. So, but that said, back in the day, like this is very obviously like a William Castle type move where they're trying to like capitalize on people's curiosities for the other endings. But I mean, as much as we talk about loving rewatching this movie or whatever, I would be a little bit pissed off if I got a bad ending and I'm like, well, I'm not going to go back to try and get the good ending. Like I'm not opening that many packs of Pokemon cards to find a Charizard. I'm not doing that. You know, like I don't have that kind of money.
Yeah, you are. Gotta catch them all. You gotta.
I mean, I just don't have that in me. And it's like,
especially if you don't know. I did see a thing that was saying that they would at least announce, you know, clue ending A, clue ending B or something, because if you were just trying to watch I think that's the thing too. If maybe people weren't aware and you were just trying to see the endings, but it wasn't announced, it's like, what are you gonna pay for a whole and sit through a whole movie for a 5-minute ending that's fucking Miss Peacock? Like what? No.
Yeah, exactly. Ending, that's an interesting idea. If they had added ending A or ending B to the like the listings of the film or whatever, so that like theoretically they might be able to get away a little bit more with the idea of making more money, because people would be like, oh, you saw ending A, oh well, that one sucks, you got to see ending C. Like then maybe that would work out, but they didn't even do that. It was random. Well, am I wrong about that? I'm pretty sure it was a randomized.
I think it was by region.
Oh really?
Maybe.
I don't know. I definitely like knew at one point, but I can't remember how that worked.
Yeah, I didn't read anything about that specifically. I wanted to touch a little bit on like the setting and like the aesthetic and the atmosphere and stuff. Like as far as this being like a really good starter horror movie, like I forget, one of y'all sort of likened it to Scooby-Doo, which it very much is. It's got that Scooby-Doo vibe. They're sneaking through the house, trying to find the killer, trying to solve the mystery. And like, yeah, this is like a perfect stepping stone into like real horror. It's it's got the old dark house as the setting. The house itself is called Hill House, which is a reference to The Haunting. Also, from what I was reading, and I forget this every time, man, but this movie was produced by Deborah Hill.
I know.
Famously produced the majority of John Carpenter's more famous films. And I was reading like the Hill House was named after Deborah Hill. I kind of feel like that maybe is a crossover of both of those reasons, because like everybody knows Hill House from The Haunting, like for sure. If you're writing this movie, you know The Haunting. So it definitely is like steeped in classic horror. It's got the thunderstorm going on, it's got the creepy dogs, it's got the fog, it's got like the ominous looming hill, like house up on the hill, the chandelier falls, the lights go out. It's like it's checking all the boxes, man.
The hidden rooms,
passageways.
I mean, a
which
lot of that
actually
honestly
correlate to the game, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, is like a lot of that is drawn directly from the game, which just speaks to the quality of the conceptualization of that game. Like honestly, like it's kind of the same situation as like a Little Shop of Horrors film, where it was a silly like B movie that was just sort of like a kind of experimental and strange, that became this really even more experimental and strange stage play, which became this bizarre blockbuster hit of a film, of a musical. This kind of had a similar thing where it was a board game based on movies and television and books, mystery books or whatever, and then it's just like a photocopy of a photocopy in many ways, but it's done so artfully that it works. The stock they're building out of is pretty strong. The fact that they managed to be pretty clever about how they distribute weapons and how Mr. Body is involved and why anybody's here and doesn't leave, things like that, that's all great. But it comes from the good stock of having this spooky fucking, I don't even know what architectural style this house is, but like this spooky like old house.
Victorian.
I know. I have made this statement before. If I won like the Mega Millions lotto or whatever, the one major purchase I would make for myself is I would have them reconstruct the house in this film for myself. I would definitely do that and have the dopest Halloween party.
Need $1 billion now.
Oh,
Randy.
hell yeah.
Inflation fucked that $1 million concept up.
Yeah, it's not. It's Mega Millions. It's not.
Gotta hit billions now.
Okay.
You want that Oak Library, Randy? You got.
Oh my God, dude, they have a library and a study and a
billiard room.
And a billiard room and a ballroom and a hall.
Would you get the secret passages made as well, Randy?
Absolutely. Are you kidding? There would be more than what you see in the film. I would make sure to include.
You got to. More. All right, we're starting a GoFundMe to build a straight chilling clue house that we'll all live in.
Yeah.
Blue Mansion.
And cast it. It's the boys when we make it. Okay, that's the motivation to get this podcast as big as possible. We'll build a clue house and we'll cast from there and live together.
Oh my God. Bob, you got to stop buying blues. Put it in the fun.
Bob, okay, you got to help us out. Sell those blues.
All right.
Off them blues, Bob.
I'm having a blues sale. Everything
it's a fire sale, everyone.
Everything must go. This whole house was built on a back lot, with the exception of the ballroom, which was a real ballroom at somebody's house. But apparently that house caught fire, and the ballroom is now gone.
Oh,
which
shit.
is a bummer.
Well, I'm still like to this day like blown away by the quality of that set. Like when I found out that was a set, I could not believe it, because it really, really genuinely looks like what it's supposed to look like. There are very few movies that have such a strong sense of place on a set like this that isn't like, Mordor or something crazy that's gussied up with CG and things like that. It just does such a great job. This movie has such a stage play sort of feel. So it's, I guess, kind of sort of an easier realm to make that believable, but they do such a great job. And I can't stress enough how great honestly, the house itself, it's kind of does that thing that people say where it becomes a character in and of itself,
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of my favorites, I want to talk about this one. I don't know, for some reason in my mind it's just kind of underrated, but where the cop comes in and they have to stage this fake party, and like they're making out by the thing, the arms flying around, and then the cops respond, "Don't you know this is America?" Like there's nothing illegal going on. Like he's totally down with it, but in such a like humble, chill kind of way. It's like, that's nothing illegal going on here.
That
I love that.
People
that-
just be necking.
that idea, that scene is so fucking dark. They're like puppeteering corpses, freshly dead
making
people,
out with them. Yeah,
making out with them. That is like such a dark sequence, and like it's played off for laughs for the most part. But like if you sit down and think about it for a second, like fuck, man, that's really grim.
Well, that's
Like,
that's the thing. This is gallows humor 101. Like they do like shit like they're carrying the cook into the study because Wadsworth likes to keep the kitchen tidy, and then they see Mr. Body is missing from the spot he was supposedly laying dead in.
Yeah,
And they just drop the cook on her face. Like
and then just proceed to step over
Yeah.
her. They don't even
exactly.
move her.
also,
And then Professor Plum, like they're like maneuvering the bodies onto the couch, and he winds up just through like
In
physical,
between.
in between dead Mr. Body with his eyes pointing upward, and then the ass of the cook who is laid over the arm. He's just kind of like, he doesn't know what to do. It's great. It's great.
Also, too, by today's standards and as an adult, it's so quaint in a way because you're finding out what these people are being blackmailed for. One woman has killed, decapitated her husband, and then one person slept with a prostitute.
Right.
One person's a homosexual, which
One
is really
person
not,
is
but
a
the idea, or that her friends were socialist, things like that are so kind of quaint in a way, even if it is played for jokes, and so, but even still, the idea of like, oh, you had an affair with your student, it's like today that is the least thing on
you can have
anybody's
the
mind.
bankable career after that.
You'll probably get elected to the Senate.
You'll get quote unquote
At
canceled,
least.
and then the following book tour would land you in the Senate.
God
Yeah,
damn.
I agree.
So there's just this kind of
those
like
bottoms
piece of
have fallen through.
yeah.
There is no bottom. One thing I wanted to mention is the score of this movie is fucking insanely good.
Isn't it
Yeah.
so good?
It's
From
amazing.
the opening credits to when he's like doing his explanation, they're going around the house. Yeah, there's a lot of good beats in this.
Honestly,
also,
the only sound cue I didn't like in this movie. Oh, I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, finish your thought.
Oh, like the only sound cue that bothers me is the triumphant cops are storming the room theme, because it's just a little bit. It's a little bit television-y. It's a little bit like maybe it's a little. It's just not. It's not funky at all. There's just a little bit of like new wavy funk thing happening with like the main theme. I don't know if that's right or not, but it just feels like you can't dance to that shit. It feels like cartoonish, and which makes sense because it is a cartoonish beat, but at the same time, it's like that's the end of the movie. Maybe
there's one scene while Wadsworth is explaining what happened, where like the score is almost having a conversation with him. It almost like frames his explanation where he'll like say a line and then the score will like come up and then fall back down and then he'll say another line and he'll do it again. And it's just like the way it's edited together is like so like well done. It feels like the score itself feels like a character. And then like throughout, the earlier stages of the movie, it's just like so ominous and just like creepy and adds to the atmosphere perfectly. It's like it's one of my favorite scores. It's really
it's
well
truly
done.
great. And they that scene you're talking about, like in the end where he like the thing that is like so easy to spot, it's just like this perfect stinger they put on Wadsworth, who's explaining, oh, everybody's meeting. And then Mr. Green or whoever it is, I can't remember, say Mr. Green smiles at a vet. And then he puts a big cheesy smile on for like a split second. And at that moment, the score goes bling and does this like little like I don't even know what the instrument is, but some sort of like bells instrument just tinkles or something.
I think might be a triangle. I'm not sure though. It's good shit. Whatever it is.
So good. And yeah, they're editing to the music is being it just fits perfectly. That scene of Wadsworth explaining things is for me, like that is what I think about when I think about Tim Curry. And they say you can tell a person based on how they know Tim Curry.
Yeah.
You can tell what kind of film nerd you're talking to by that. That's mine. That's my Tim Curry origin. I knew him from other things, even as a kid. Home Alone 2. Congo. Oh, sure. That one wasn't mine.
I actually forgot until I was thinking about picking. I forgot he was in Congo.
fucking Wild Thornberries. Like he's in all kinds of shit that I saw as a kid.
Thornberries.
And this is what I like. I will never be able to separate these two things.
Yeah. I think
He
Home Alone
owns the screen
2
on this.
is another good one. Yeah, this is the first Tim Curry role that comes to mind when I think of Tim Curry's career is definitely Wadsworth and Clue, for sure.
Yeah.
And which is crazy
he
because so many
carries it.
people define him by Rocky Horror Picture Show, for example.
Yeah.
Which is
And that's
understandable.
totally valid.
Yeah.
That is. Yeah, that is.
That is like, and it's a whole different like fucking thing for him. It's crazy what this man can do.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Also, damn it. I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
He's got,
Yeah.
I mean, those three are, I mean, as far as him carrying a film, the Rocky
Mhm.
Horror Picture, Clue, and It, I mean, that's some good choices.
Absolutely. And the thing is, like, he's surrounded by really talented people. in
Yes.
almost all of those. And in this one in particular, in my mind, like Martin Mull and fucking Michael McKean and fucking like all these people, even the ones that you don't see in a lot of other things, like Colleen Camp and Lee Ving, who is a hardcore punk band leader, which is crazy to me.
He's the
Hardcore
singer.
punk.
He's the singer of the band Fear.
Yeah, like what interesting casting is that? Like
I read something. I kind of don't believe this to be true, but as far as trivia goes, I was reading something that he was cast because his name was Lee Ving, and like Mr. Body will be leaving soon, or what? Like it doesn't really. It doesn't really make much sense. But I do love that casting. He plays that character like to the T. He's very ominous.
He's just the perfect scumbag. Yeah.
Yeah. He's
Leslie Ann Warren
kind of
as Miss
perfect
Scarlet is incredible. I'm sorry, I cut you up.
Yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, Miss Scarlet is incredible.
Like so good. My God.
God, he was anti-whispers.
Yeah, that is a definitive
I
performance
forgot
too.
about that. And
Have
over
you
the garden wall,
shorted the bone?
Yeah. Damn, that
Anti-whispers.
episode's creepy as fuck. Fucking anti-whispers is scary.
She's terrifying. Holy shit.
Watch Over the Garden Wall if you have not. I'm sure.
Dude,
if
it's
you listen to
not
us, you've heard us
season
say so.
yet.
Well, okay,
promote
sure.
it
When
fully.
it gets to fall, first day of fall, you watch that
We
shit.
need to do another
It's a
coverage
long
of that.
movie.
We should do a
in
live watch of Over the Garden Wall.
Dude,
Dude,
I will
that'd be
take
tight.
any excuse to watch. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. That's another like pivotal what do you call it? Desert island thing for me. Garden
It's
Wall.
also perfect to show your kids if you're trying to introduce them to spooky stuff.
Yeah. Tim
Um,
Curry actually does a great job of, I mean, he was in some, I was just going through his catalog. What a treasure, you know? I mean, he does a great job of what I want for kids style horror, you know, Clue. He was in, I mean, Wild Thornberries isn't horror, but Over the Garden Wall. I'll go through some more, but just like, man, he was
just all over the place for a while. Like the Littlest Witch or whatever, which is terrible. in my
Oh
opinion.
man,
I didn't see that as a kid, but
it is terrible, but it's kind of great at the same time.
Yeah.
It's
low rent Harry Potter ass shit.
Yeah, for sure. We've been praising the hell out of this movie, which I think rightfully so.
I gave a little critique.
Yeah, there's another thing
though.
that bothered me a little bit. That's like I don't know, it's a small thing. They're waiting for the cops to arrive. The cops are going to get there in 45 minutes, and then there's like a surprise cop that comes too soon, and instead of like engaging him and trying to get him to help and like find the killer and solve the mystery, they just lock him in a room and wait for the other cops that they were expecting to arrive. I don't really like understand why they made that choice exactly.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like there are things like that in this movie. That's why I say, when I say like the plot kind of almost doesn't matter in a lot of ways. There's a lot of cleverness to it, but it's easy to like, this movie makes it so easy and rewarding to overlook things like that. Like Wadsworth locks him in for a second time after he's already like threatened them and they've already like shown him around and done this whole charade. He locks him in a second time and they go, "Why'd you lock him in again?" He says, "We haven't finished searching the house yet." And it's like, there's a cop in there. You just barely scraped by a second ago. You really want to do that? Like, what?
Yeah.
What do you? The idea to even split up in the first place, everybody's just like, well, Colonel Mustard says so, and they're like, they're resistant at first, but he's like, "What choice do we have?" And nobody else, everybody's like, "None. We don't really have a choice." Like, yeah, fucking course you have a choice. Don't do that. search every room one by one together, or at least in threes. What the fuck?
Right.
Or at least, or even that the driver would not say like, "Oh, my old boss. Hey, guy. What's up?"
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Why would he be weird about
well,
it?
unless well, that's the thing is like we also later find out that everybody, including him, were informants to Mr. Body, and they were all invited. So that guy crashed his car on purpose. We see the crashed car. That is
Right,
supposedly
yeah, and they're
why
just
the cop is
waiting
investigating.
on him to get there.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. And
They're
like that's fine.
They're all supposed
It
to
really
come,
doesn't.
but they just show up happenstance. But really, they didn't. They were all invited and were supposed to come. It's weird.
And one
I
thing that
also-
really bothered. Oh, sorry.
I was
thing.
gonna change. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Just one other thing. One other thing in the inconsistency category is this. This thing always bothered me, even as a kid. They're all going by fake names. They're all going by pseudonyms. It's well established. It's talked through about a lot. At the end of the Miss Peacock ending, especially, and I think a few times throughout, they have Mrs. Peacock going to her car outside, and then the proselytizer says, Mrs. Peacock, coming from behind the bushes. She goes, "How do you know my name?" And I always sit there and go, It's not your fucking name.
It's true.
What are you talking about? I have a real like fucking misery moment. It's like you didn't give a real cockadoodie name.
I wanted to give one more critique of this film.
Mhm.
I was watching on my laptop and I had my headphones in, and sometimes actually it's mostly I feel like within the first 15 to 20 minutes, but there might have been one or two other times after that. But the volume management on this needed to be reined in, because you'll be like, there's one where they're just kind of quietly talking. There's not even like any music going on in the dining room. And then that bitch hits the gong and it's like so stupid loud. And then there's another moment like that where there was something was going on. I think like the lightning strikes, or maybe the dogs jump up on the window and bark. There was a couple times where I was like trying to manage my volume, where I was like, I want to be able to hear what people are saying, and then some loud ass shit comes on and was like way too fucking loud for my ears. So I was like, they need to manage that. It happened like 2 or 3 times that made me go like, fuck, volume down, like just for a second.
Were
and
you
then they just
on
go
your
back
computer?
to talking.
Like,
yeah, I was just
did
on
you
my
have any of your
computer.
headphones at the time?
I just have my
I wonder if that had
headphones on,
something to do with it, because I've never really, like, those are loud. They're intentionally loud as stingers, but
they were. I mean, I was
just
just listening and I was just having a hard time like hearing the conversation, and so I took it up to like 60 on the volume.
Yeah.
But then as soon as like the gong hit or like the lightning strike, I was like, fuck, that's loud, and I had to take it down to like 40 just for a second. And then I had to like bump it up. I was like, fuck.
Not all headphones and not all speakers are created equal. And
yeah,
I've never had an issue with the volume watching this on the TV. I've never watched it with headphones on, but like not all headphones have like a flat EQ. Some have like bass boost, some have mid boost. And it's just like,
I think these are my general like iPod or like, you know, like whatever.
And it also isn't penetrating you. That's a bummer.
That's a bummer, Bob.
A bummer. Yeah, I've never noticed that. I've never had an issue with the volume or anything. I think we've touched on just about everything. Is there anything else you guys want to mention before we rate this?
I want to go through every joke and laugh at them together, but
same. Yeah.
I made a note about one. Actually, two. I buttle, sir. What do you do? I buttle, sir. I thought that shit was pretty funny. And also, I'm going to expose myself. He says, "Sir, there are ladies present."
Dude, are you trying to embarrass me in front of the other guests? You don't need any help from me, sir.
Right.
That's right.
There's so many smart little jokes.
I think that like the only movie that really fits into the similar mold as this is weirdly this very recent movie that we've all talked about, and which is very popular, called Knives Out. And I think that what that movie does that this one doesn't is it takes its plotting very, very, very seriously. It's not just a means to an end to get to some funny one-liners and slapstick. And, you know, it really leans far more into this is a mystery, and it banks on that more, to both its credit and to part, like, I think that the comedy, as much as I love that movie and think it's great, I think the comedy is less so because of that. And that's fine with me. Like I just think that these movies kind of occupy different spaces in that, and that's kind of the key difference of the two. But thematically, visually, aesthetically, they draw from the same sources, it feels like. And I love that there's somebody out there that they're making movies in this vein now, and now there's going to be a Knives Out 2 that's already on the way. Benoit Blanc as the new like amalgam of all these Charlie Chan Poirot type figures in the most absurd way possible, but also using like true, really solid plotting.
We covered that movie,
that you can
right?
actually figure out.
Did we actually do
I don't think we did
episode on it?
Knives Out? No.
Really?
I don't think we did,
Oh
no.
man, I remember us all talking about when it came out. That was like 2019, late 2019.
Yeah,
I'm sure we talked about what we've been watching, but not a
damn. It was review. That and then Lighthouse and then Pandemic as far as theater viewing goes for me.
Damn,
like,
yeah. Well, let's go and rate this thing out of 5. Juice, kick us off. How do you feel about Clue?
Yeah, I really like this movie. It's kind of refreshing in a way. It's fun to kind of go back to it's this simple kind of era, it feels like. It's very clever. There's the craft. I can't help but respect so many aspects of the craft of this film. Like I said, even just taking this film is based on a board game, but nailing so many of those factors. The delivery of the weapons, the set design is beautiful and looks amazing. And is set up in a very fun, spooky kind of way with the thunderstorm and the house on the hill and stuff like that. Tim Curry absolutely kills it, but everyone gives a solid, fun performance. If anything, Tim Curry is so good that it makes me want these characters to be maybe a little more distinct in themselves. But I still think everybody does a good job. It's funny. In a couple different ways. It can be quick-witted, it can nail like the timing and stuff, but sometimes it's just silly people running into each other. So it's got a lot of variety in that. Again, going back to the setting, just the secret passageways, but again, how they actually connect to the real rooms in the game. So like from the kitchen to the study or whatever, that's what it's like in the game. That's fun, and I appreciate that kind of detail if you're going to do a movie like this. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Tim Curry is amazing. I love Tim Curry. I love to watch him. But I mean, again, this movie isn't without its critiques. I don't think it's perfect. I really, really, really do enjoy it. It's just, I feel like you can throw it on almost at any time, but I mean, it's pretty short. It doesn't really take its story seriously, which isn't the biggest thing. I'm not saying that you have to, but I think it can be critiqued on that in some fashion. And so I'll just overall give it a 4 and say that, I mean, it's not overall perfect film. It's highly enjoyable. It's very clever. It's got a great craft behind it between the music and the acting and the set design. But I mean, ultimately, it's not a perfect film, and even as a comedy, I never find myself like just like completely holding my gut or anything, but I mean, I am laughing consistently, so I think 4 is fair for me.
All right, 4 from Juice.
Bob, out of 5, what are you gonna give Clue?
I think taking a board game and deciding to make a movie out of it is generally a lame idea. And I think it's one that would be very difficult to pull off and like make anybody care about it. Like if someone told you like, that board game Clue, they made a fucking movie out of it, I don't know that I'd ever be excited to watch it. But then when you watch this thing and like the writing and the level of acting on display here, specifically from Tim Curry, and the overall setting and mood and aesthetic and like just the care that you feel when you watch this movie is just like transcends the idea. And like you almost forget that it was born from a board game just because it's a fucking badass, very funny, very engaging movie. You're along for the ride. And I think when the ending happens, and you've got 3 different endings, it sort of makes this even more singular in that it's, you know, a board game turned into a movie, which sounds lame, but they pull it off. And then it's also a movie with 3 endings, which I don't know that I know of any other movie that's done that, where like every time I watch it, it has 3 separate endings. It's just like a very like specific, very singular idea that they made even crazier than it had to be in a way, and pulled it off, which is insane. I don't know. It's just, it's written so well and acted so well that they almost could have done anything, and like you'd buy into it, you know. The score, like I said, is one of my favorite scores of really any movie I've seen. I love the Scooby-Doo aspects of it. I find that very charming and just fun and lighthearted. There's a lot of like very grim stuff happening that they're able to flip and make very comedic. It's one of the greatest last lines of any movie, you know, I'm gonna go home and sleep with my wife. Honestly, just like when Tim Curry's explaining what happens, like it is one of my favorite endings of any movie I think I've ever seen. It's really up there for me. It's tough to beat. I have very few critiques. Obviously the cop thing I mentioned. There's a few things that don't necessarily add up, but at the end of the day, like the plot doesn't need to be airtight for me to fully enjoy this story, I guess. The jokes are like, you know, happening left and right, which I, you know, again, warrants like multiple viewings on this. And I never get tired of it. It's one of those movies that is, it's an all-timer for me. And like, as far as I think what the filmmakers were trying to achieve, I think they certainly did achieve it. And my enjoyment of it is through the roof. So I think I'm going to come in with a 5 on this one. Randy, how do you feel?
Yeah, so I mean, total agreement, really. I mean, this is like, I have enough, you know, knowledge of how movies are made as an amateur film critic to know the faults that this movie you could point to for this movie. I can point those out. I could point some of those out when I was a kid. The thing is, they don't matter, because this movie lives in moments. And I like, the thing is, you could point, the biggest thing this problem this movie has that you could point to me is that it's kind of meandering if you start analyzing the plot beat for beat, unless of course you're Tim Curry. But the thing is, I don't mind meandering in this movie. I want to see more moments in this movie. Every beat is valuable to me for the most part, with the exception, like very few exceptions. And I just don't, whatever percentage of my score isn't saved by that logic of it not mattering if the plot doesn't hold together perfectly, it's saved by just my sheer love and my having grown up with this film. This is a 5-star movie to me. I can't in good conscience endorse it any other way. I don't usually like appeal to emotion as part of my like review specifically, but this, you know, it's such a margin of like, it's a razor thin margin as it is. And I just love this fucking movie so much. It's so good. The acting is so fun. The beats are so fun. It spreads its wit between dry and just absolute slapstick nonsense. It just threads so many needles. This movie has no right to be as good as it is. It is only as good as it is through the talents involved and through, obviously, like somebody putting in the fucking legwork and making it work when it absolutely should not. I agree with Rob. Like, it's a stupid idea to make a fucking board game into a movie. Battleship has proven this. You know, this is the exception to the rule. And I don't think that you're ever going to capture this lightning in a bottle again. I think that the idea of Ryan Reynolds remaking this movie is a terrible idea, which is why I think it's great that Knives Out came out, because it kind of carries the legacy without having to tarnish what we already love, which is what, you know, Hollywood loves doing. I don't know, man. What can I say? This movie is just so fucking great. How can you watch a movie that has this moment and not laugh?
I had to stop her from screaming.
Or this one.
Flames on the side of my face.
Like, Jesus Christ. This is these are incredible moments that you can point to. I don't know, man. I'm losing the words for this. This is a great film. I love it, and my love and its greatness combined to give it an absolute 5 rating. It'll never change as far as I'm concerned.
I love it, man. That's awesome. I love watching you get so excited that you can't find the words. It's a beautiful thing.
Like, logic has left the building. You don't need it for this movie. You just need a few moments of like levity and insanity. You need fucking Wadsworth speaking and saying the word yeah. It's insane what this movie does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, this is fucking insane. This works. And it works so goddamn well. It cannot be replicated. Ryan Reynolds, stand down, my dude.
Yeah.
You are
Make
no
another
Tim Curry,
Deadpool.
sir.
Be an MCU guy. That's fine.
Yeah.
He's listening.
Good shot, Green.
We got to play the voicemail and hear.
We do.
We do.
Nate, big thanks again to Nate for picking this movie for us to review on the show. Something we started doing this year. If you do nab one of our You Pick the Flick spots, we're encouraging you guys to send an email or a voicemail with your own rating and review for the movie you chose. And Nate left us a voicemail. We're going to listen to that right now.
What up, nerds? Hey, this is Nate. Just want to thank you guys for reviewing my pick of Clue. Really hope you guys enjoy talking about it and revisiting this. It's one of my all-time favorites. I remember the first time I watched it, it was like a sleepover in the second grade with a group of friends, and this is one of the movies that we rented. We must have watched it 4 or 5 times just that weekend. It was good times. But seen it countless times since then, and then kind of as I got older and watched it more, picked up more of the jokes and picked up more of like the facial expressions that people have in different scenes. It's really good overall. As far as the question of is it a horror movie, well, my pitch is that I feel like it's one of those introductory horror adjacent movies. It's definitely a comedy, but I think it's got some horror vibes to it. It's got the big spooky house, lightning crashes and whatnot. I think you could make a case for like a PG slasher type movie with you have the close up of the faces of the victims, and then you just see the gloved hand with the weapon, kind of like the a la like Psycho, doing that, but just all you see is the hand and the weapon. So kind of like a PG-ish slasher vibes there. The music, I think, does a really great job, especially like in some of those scenes with the lights out or they're handing out the weapons and things, building tension. But then I also think it adds a lot when it goes to like the silly slapstick comedy aspect of it. I think the music choices there do a great job. Physical comedy is pretty good, especially between Tim Curry, Michael McKean. Those guys, this probably favorite Tim Curry's performance of his career. But great performances all around. I'm gonna give it the old 5-star. It's a 5-star classic. I think it's just great. You can rewatch it. I rewatch it all the time. Like, it's a comfort movie for sure. And then I think for the Rotten Tomatoes, I'll give it I'm going to go with 100% on both.
Oh, damn.
On the 100%, there's no way the negative view on this movie. Flames on the side of my face, breathing.
That's it. I don't like. We had a little break up there at the end, but I swear to God, I did not listen to that before we recorded this episode. But that was like a lot of echoing of the things I said. So we're on the same page, Nate. I did actually. Rob, go ahead.
I would say he had the perfect introduction to this movie, watching it in the second grade at a sleepover with a bunch of friends.
Damn,
that's the perfect way to do it, man. That's the right time, right place. You're cracking up with your buddies, and then you watch it again the next day and again the next day. And
second grade.
He's a full blown horror hound now. It's a perfect like stepping stone introductory type movie for sure. Yeah.
I did actually want to. This is not usually the thing for me. I do not usually go to the genre question at all. I don't usually care. But in this particular film, something occurred to me on this viewing that had never occurred to me before that I want to bring up, and I forgot before. How much Giallo is in this movie, do you think? There seems like there's quite a bit
Just
of
the
at least
glow.
aesthetic based on what we talked about. Go ahead.
Definitely like the leather glove killer for sure. You only see the hand and the murder weapon. And then also like Giallos typically are murder mysteries. There's typically a detective or like, just somebody trying to solve the case. And that is exactly what this movie is. So there's, you could definitely liken it to that for sure.
Giallo.
I feel like this might be the most Giallo adjacent thing that I saw before we started like breaking the seal on actual Giallo, and like before I watched, say, like Suspiria, which is still contested as Giallo, and then sort of going down that rabbit hole with you guys.
Yeah,
I don't know. That just occurred to me. I'd never. Oh my god, a lot of like the few things that we have as identifiers of the Giallo genre exist in this movie, in the movie where they make soup slurping jokes. Like that's pretty fucking insane.
Giallo.
It is. It's like American Second City improv style Giallo. I am on board for that.
Yeah.
Well, it happened blend. 40 years ago. So
yeah.
I mean,
if somebody can do that again, but not like just strip out the clue name and the clue ephemera and just do like Giallo, but we're gonna be silly with it, and we're gonna I don't know, like a parody homage sort of deal of Giallo. That's got to exist already, right?
Yeah, there is. It's called The Editor. It's a parody of Giallo. It's definitely worth watching.
I'm going to watch that because this seems like ripe ground that I had just really never thought about before. And I mean, I'm sure it won't be as good as Clue to me because it's too close. No. It's too close to me to be touched, but I would love to see that play out anyway. So cool.
It's worth watching for sure. I think it came out in like 2015 or 2012, something like that. So it's not super old. Thanks again, Nick, for calling in. Thanks for picking this flick for us to review. It's definitely a solid choice, man. Our aggregate for Clue is going to be a nice 4.7. Let's jump into our rotten. Let's jump into our Rotten Mater segment, see what the critics and users think about Clue Goo.
Certified.
All right, ladies and gents, this is the Rotten Tomatoes segment. In this segment, I will ask these two gentlemen to guess within the best of their abilities what they think the aggregate scores are for Clue on this website, RottenTomatoes.com. That is both for critics and for user score. I'm going to start, as we usually do, with the critic score. We've already gotten from Nate a 100% for critics. So we'll go with, I'm going to add that to the list because why not? And we'll start with Bob. Bob, there are 34 critic reviews here, just 34. So keep that in mind. What percentage of those do you believe to be positive reviews?
I feel like this is going to be pretty high, but I don't think it's going to be like through the roof high. Man, 33. That's not a lot either, though.
34.
34. I don't remember.
Whatever.
I probably just. I'm gonna go with an 80. I'll go high.
I'm gonna go with an 80. Okay.
Yeah.
80 from Bob. Juice, where are you at with it? 34 reviews.
I was already kind of feeling this before Bob said it, so I'll take the lower end and give a slight chance for us to tie because that would always be fun and exciting, and give it a 78.
78. All right. Ooh. Well, there will be no tie. And Juice, you are going to take this one. You're off by 10. This is 68% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow. Okay.
68%.
I'll still take my hell yeet, boys. As low as that score is.
Yeah, that's incredibly low. But I got to think, I don't know where all these reviews come from exactly. They all appear to be relatively new. Like they're not, I don't see a lot listed here that are from like when it was released.
Okay.
And I want to ascribe it to the weird marketing tactic of the multiple endings, which is by far its biggest criticism, actually. But I guess you can't. I don't know. It's really strange to me.
I know you boys have those like kid goggles on, which is fair. Which I mean, that definitely. I mean, we reviewed Hocus Pocus. I know what that looks like. But I mean, I think you could say that this movie can be tedious at times. Like I could see a lot more critiques than it's harder to see when you cherish this movie so deeply.
Juice, I can't hear you. Anyway, let's move on to the audience review. I can't hear you when you say horrible things.
Oh, okay.
My mind won't allow it. Let's go over to the audience score. There are over 50,000 audience rankings, so significantly more here to work with. We got 100% from Nate. Thank you for that, Nate. And Juice, we'll start with you this time. What do you think that those I'm sorry, did I say 5,000? 50,000 plus. Did I say that right?
I think this will probably be higher than the critics, but with that high a number, I mean, I think it's still going to be capped. So I'm going to go I'll say like 75.
75. Okay, Bob, how about you? Where do you land on that scale?
I'll just take 8. I'll take 80 again.
I'll just take 8.
80, no.
Okay, 80% from Bob. And that will prove to be a fruitful choice. It is 86%.
Okay, the old project.
Never let me down.
This is a darling amongst the audiences of the world. The critics' consensus reads as follows. A robust ensemble of a robust ensemble of game actors, like actors who are game, I guess.
I don't know.
Elevate clue. Anyway, I don't know. This is poorly worded. A robust ensemble of game actors elevate clue above its schematic source material, but this farce's reliance. Oh no, on God.
Killing it.
Let's try that again for the 8th time.
Got a raging clue, huh, Randy?
Oh man, my computer's not having a good time. A robust ensemble of game actors elevate clue above its schematic source material, but this farce's reliance on novelty over organic wit makes its entertainment value a roll of the dice. God damn, that was not worth reading.
Yeah.
Can I get a hell goo?
You want to get a raging clue, Bob? Is that what you want?
Yes, always. I'm always rocking a raging clue, boys. That's
Can I get a That's relevant.
Yep. All right. So I hate that critics consensus, by the way. Let's go down and see if there are any funny reviews down here. I feel like I'm going to take all of them personally, but let's do it anyway. It's not the least bit scary or suspenseful, but instead quickly grows tedious. The more you struggle to keep track of the constantly multiplying plot developments, the harder it gets to care who did it. Why do you care who does it? Who cares? Who cares?
Fuck that person.
Also, it's not scary. I mean, this isn't.
Yeah.
It's. I mean,
not really
supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eerie at best. This is a comedy film.
There's no Santa Claus in this film. It's got no Christmas cheer.
This movie has no Christmas cheer. What the fuck? The characters are less credible than their plastic counterparts. The puerile humor is dispiriting, and the plotting pulled this way and that by the conceit of releasing the film in the US with a trio of alternate endings.
Oh, they had a trio of endings.
This was written in 2006 by somebody who likes to use the word puerile. I think he can safely feast upon my taint.
I don't know if he can do it safely.
Safely?
Safe for
questionable.
Me.
That taint right there's a feast, if I do say so myself.
I'll go ahead and grab that sound bump for the old 400 compilation.
Feast on my taint.
Safely feast on my taint.
Oh Oh my god.
Randy's
Oh man,
got a
all
raging
of these
clue.
negative reviews use words like denouement and shit. Like, what are you doing reviewing this movie? Get the fuck out of here, dude. Get out of here, Poindexter. Nobody wants it.
Oh shit.
Oh, Randy.
Well, I guess it's totally time for trivia.
I suppose.
It's totally time for trivia.
Bob, this seems
Alright,
like a
boys.
movie that would have a shit ton of trivia.
Dude, it does. I tried to comb through it and pick the best, and then I worked some into the conversation too, but I got, maybe a dozen left here. First among them, apparently Carrie Fisher was originally cast as Miss Scarlet until she ended up in a rehab clinic, so she could not do that. That would have been
As who?
great.
As Mrs. Peacock, you said?
Scarlet.
Scarlet.
Oh, Scarlet. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I would not replace anybody in this film. It's
Me
I
either.
love everybody in it, but alternate. If I had alternate dimensional cable or whatever, I would watch that version for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. The singing telegram girl was played by Jane Wideland, who is better known for the rhythm guitarist for the band called the Go-Go's.
Oh.
She was also in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I almost said Joan, which is in- She was Joan of Arc. She did Pilates or yoga or whatever they did in that movie. Not yoga, whatever it is. Jazzercise. I can't remember. Something very 80s.
In the opening scene of this movie, Wadsworth checks on the cook, and the live televised McCarthy hearings are on in the kitchen. And one phrase spoken by Senator Joseph McCarthy that can be clearly heard in the movie says, "Professors and teachers who are getting their orders from Moscow." Just to like add to the Red Scare sort of aspect of this movie.
Yeah.
So kind of
talk about shit that you like. No kid understands, but somehow second graders across the world love this fucking movie.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as
It's
time
just
goes on, I just keep
wild.
finding more.
Tim Curry is like, I don't know, maybe it's the crazy voice or something. He's just so delightful.
He is.
He is.
Well, that's his commitment to doing shit, man. He does shit in this movie.
Gets it done. I will say one weird thing. Young Christopher Lloyd kind of looks like Quentin Tarantino. Did anybody else pick up on that?
Poor
I did
Lloyd.
not. No.
No, I mean, I guess
know
I
if I
can
see
see it.
With the glass, I don't know. There was a moment I was like, oh, weird. Kind of looks like Quentin Tarantino.
My boy Tino.
Totino. Totino. How did you
How
know?
did you know? Everybody talking about. Some of the authentic 18th and 19th century furnishings were rented from private collectors, including items from the estate of President Theodore Roosevelt himself.
Hell fucking yeah. That's
Okay.
really awesome. Like, no wonder this had such resounding class in this set that they built.
There is an inscription over the fireplace that reads "Nouveau riche oblige," which is French, and I'm sure I'm butchering that. It's a combination between two French phrases. The first being "nouveau riche," which is a derogatory phrase.
You don't know what death is.
I don't know what death is. Which
That's what it is.
translates to rich families rather than. Wait a minute, what am I saying? It's a derogatory phrase for newly rich families rather than inherited wealth. And noblesse oblige, which means people of nobility have an obligation. So the two combined literally translate to the newly rich have an obligation. That's what it says over the fireplace.
Philosophical.
You are not noble. You didn't inherit this wealth. You earned it.
This is a very American
Piece
film.
of shit.
New money, guys. Am I right? Fuck you.
Damn. Leslie
Four on the
Ann-
floor. Sorry.
Leslie Ann Warren and Christopher Lloyd and Martin Mull all reunited to spoof this movie. And there's an episode of the TV show called Psych that's titled 100 Clues, which, have you seen that, Randy?
I have. It's all right. I don't love that show, but I watched a bit of it because it's set in Santa Barbara. When I was living in Santa Barbara, I watched a little bit of it, and that was definitely the first one I watched. Did you know also, and you might be covering this, that Colonel Mustard, Martin Mull, and Leslie Ann Warren, Miss Scarlet, reunited in Community, playing Britta Perry's parents.
Interesting. Huh. I
Mhm.
don't remember
In
that.
I
latter
did not
seasons.
know that. Yeah, that's
Latter
badass.
seasons.
Gotcha. Okay, probably haven't seen it then.
Okay, yeah, I never made it past 4. I need to though.
Mm-hmm.
5 and 6 are
Same.
worth a watch, if
Okay,
nothing
I'll
else.
get there.
So there was a 4th ending that was scripted and shot, in
What
which
the fuck?
Wadsworth apparently committed all the murders out of a twisted need for perfection in his life. He then reveals he poisoned everybody with a slow-acting toxin in their drinks. It ends with Wadsworth being killed by dogs as he attempts to escape by car from the house.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's insane.
kinda
That is
cool.
fucking insane. I don't know that I would have squeezed another ending into this, but
Yeah,
you know,
probably not.
as
Three's good.
I would love to see that fucking cut though that has it in there as an alternate cut.
Yeah, that's better than
Or
the
an
Miss
alternate.
Scarlet one. I feel like the Miss Scarlet one is the worst one.
It's pretty weak. Yeah. It's
I
the
like that they
worst.
tried to like show like multiple people as the central killer of each. Like they're trying to
Yeah.
like give every person their day, at least at the beginning. But yeah, they definitely fall short in those ones. It's less interesting that, you know, it just kind of is.
Yeah.
It's good as a first of 3 endings because it kind of explains how somebody
Yeah,
would do any of that
that's
stuff.
true.
So
Yeah.
And the last bit of trivia I have here is there's a portrait that served as the exit of the secret passage in the study. It is of William McKinley, who was the 25th president of the United States. He was the 3rd U.S. president to be assassinated. He was shot in Buffalo, New York in 1901.
Damn.
And,
R.I.P.
Yeah,
I
pour
mean,
one out
Going out.
have some wings in his honor.
for Bill McKinley. Gentlemen, let's talk about our tutor of the week.
Straight chillin'. Tutor of the week.
Juice, what is a cooter and why do we hunt them?
Cooter is a character type and a straight chillin' exclusive. Cooter must hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a cooter, and we want the cooter with the most points. The 5 points of cooterdom are sexual deviancy, manipulation, smug arrogance, overall looking attire, and overall patheticness. Boys, there might be some options this week. Does anyone
think so.
have a strong conviction either way?
Well, I mean, there's some hair splitting that might need to be done for some of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the "this is what really happened" ending as
Okay.
sort of
That's
like my
fair,
through line
yeah,
for this
that's fair.
particular pitch. My first pitch is Professor Plum.
He was mine
Christopher
as well.
Lloyd.
He was mine
Yeah.
as well. Mhm.
Well, let's just start with the sexual deviancy because my lad can't keep his goddamn hands to himself.
Yeah, yeah, they're all over the
True.
place.
Yeah, he's
sexual
asking for
deviance.
like whorehouse numbers and shit. Like he's trying to mimic sexual positions.
Yeah.
It's
Let
pretty
me
fucked
show
up.
you. Yeah.
It's like who on earth would do such a thing?
He slept
Um,
with his with
patient.
his patient, so that's
Yeah.
no go. That's some sexual deviancy.
And then shot her in at least one ending. No, wait, no, he didn't.
No,
did
he
It
didn't.
was
He didn't.
It was
I think
Scarlet. No, who?
Wadsworth.
Wadsworth,
I think.
obviously. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he did. Yeah. But also manipulation. So my pitch for this is
Okay.
that he attempts to murder who we think is Mr. Body, and
yeah.
as soon as the lights go out, pretends that he is dead, just as Mr. Body is pretending to be dead, as a method of then trying to kill him later again. So he's basically manipulating people. He's like, oh, somebody tried to grab the gun from me. It went off
Yeah.
in the dark. But
Hmm.
no, he's just a terrible shot. He missed his shot.
Yeah.
And now he's lying. As Wadsworth says, even a psychiatrist can tell the difference between patients who are alive or dead.
Yeah.
That is accurate.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then I would say looking attire, he's fine. I would say smug arrogance. I don't see a ton of evidence besides just being kind of a shithead, but I will say patheticness because Buddy, and it specifically kind of is keyed in one single line, which is at the end where he says, Wadsworth says, well, oh, I'm Mr. Body. That was my butler. Oh no. And he goes, who did I kill? He says, that was my butler. And he says, oh, shucks. It's just like, Yeah. What the fuck, man? Come on, Professor. Weak.
Also, was
Weak.
there some kind of joke in what he did for who? He works for who? And then he said he worked for what
Who?
division did he work for?
I
thought there was a
No,
joke in there that
he
might
worked for
lead
the
to-
UN in the World Health Organization of the UN.
I know, but they specifically mentioned
Family planning?
Family planning. Was that supposed to be some kind of joke?
I think that might have been like kind of a bit of a dud joke that was supposed to imply that he's a sexual deviant person.
Okay.
Which we kind of know at that point, but
yeah, all right.
I think that maybe that could have been handled a little bit better.
Yeah.
Also, though, a joke that I actually didn't notice until like maybe like a couple of years ago with him is when he's like he says, Wadsworth's like, you used to work for treating patients with delusions of grandeur, and he says, well, I work for the UN now. He goes, but your work has not changed. And then he moves on and keeps talking. Sociopaths with delusions of grandeur, something like that, which is pretty good.
Okay. We
Anyway,
could go
so
with
yeah, those are my big
Wadsworth,
three.
maybe.
You could. Yeah. With the final ending.
With the final ending, yeah. You could say manipulation is high.
Yeah.
Manipulation.
Maybe some smug arrogance included in that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. His little
The way
his
he
cackle at the end.
Yeah.
His little like evil chuckle is perfect.
Especially when he's like, oh, well, who called the police or whatever? Who do you think? So, but I don't think he ever acts sexually deviant though.
No, I mean not in any way that's specifically sexual and not about gathering evidence on people to blackmail them.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing about blackmail. It's like some of it's sexual, but it's because it's what people are doing. It's not necessarily because of Wadsworth. But I mean, you shouldn't spy on people having sex. That's kind of deep.
Yeah, I think that goes without saying for most people.
For most.
Smug arrogance,
not really.
It's definitely manipulation. Definitely looking at tire. The man looks fly. Everybody in this movie looks fly.
Oh yeah,
so that's a no for none. Nobody gets that one. Patheticness, no. I don't think he hits 3 points.
Yeah, he might not.
He's just really high on a couple of points like manipulation. Like he's just a really good fucking con man and blackmailer.
Yeah.
The other Mr. Body might hit 3. I mean, he's definitely got manipulation by blackmailing everybody.
Okay.
He is absolutely smug as hell.
You're going with the end, like one of the endings where he is not actually a butler trying to turn the tables on Wadsworth.
It'd be ending A or B, I guess, just not C. But yes, he would be manipulative, smug, and potentially sexually deviant. Like he alludes to having a relationship with a vet, and
he grabs her ass.
And I guess she's an informant for him, and it seems to be against her. Well, she definitely doesn't seem like super into it. So like we could probably make that jump there that he's sexually deviant in some way, at least with her. Pathetic, I don't really think so, and his attire is fine.
Yeah. Mr. Plum might be the highest one we got.
I think so. The sexual deviancy on that guy really sets him off because nobody else is really like dealing on that stuff except for maybe Colonel Mustard, but like even that is like, it was consensual outside of the bounds of the law, but not necessarily, sex work, not not feeling somebody up or taking advantage of a patient.
Yeah. So Plum's the winner.
Plum him.
Plum his ass.
Plum his ass.
Oh yeah.
Plum's got that raging clue the whole time, dude. Damn.
He definitely does.
I hate him for it, basically.
What was that? Nobody knows what Randy's doing.
That was an accident, Randy. See,
no, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. Randy, have you ever eaten monkey's brains? I know it's not popular in Washington, D.C.
Yeah,
can't get it here. It's Cantonese, not DC.
Were they also eating shark fin soup at the beginning? Is that what he said it was?
Soup.
Yeah,
that's what they say. Yeah, all the weird shit.
Damn, fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, Cantonese, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if monkey's brains is a legit thing, but shark fin soup is a thing. I don't know exactly from where, but I feel like it's from
I
an
think you
Asian
can get
country of some
monkey brains
variety.
somewhere, probably where there's a shit ton of monkeys.
Well deduced.
Probably.
Wadsworth.
Probably.
If I had to guess.
Now, I don't want to, I'm no big city detective.
I don't know. There's not a lot of sharks living in China, but they still eat shark fin soup.
Well, but I know that they hunt sharks. No, I don't know about in China, but like,
just fucking.
I don't know.
Just fucking your butt.
I don't know if that's true, but I know that shark fin soup is a thing somewhere.
It is.
All right. We're running a little bit late tonight. You guys cool with skipping what you've been watching and going straight to voicemails?
Sure.
All right, let's do it.
Hotline screen.
You boys have
If
just
you
been
are-
too busy getting your clue goo on.
That is correct, I guess.
Look, I'm happy to get my clue goo on at any given time. Are we past the dozen now? Can we stop with
Probably.
this?
I'm sure. If you are listening and would like to call in and leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. We have one voicemail this week. We're going to be hearing from our boy Matt. Let's hear what he has to say.
Hey, Straight Chilling crew, it's Matt. I was calling in because y'all are watching Clue this week. I recently just watched a show on Apple TV called The After Party. I think it's all one word. It is basically an updated Clue where someone dies at a after party after a 20-year high school reunion, and then they kind of go around and try to figure out who did it. And they listen to everybody's story and everything. Very similar to Clue, but updated and, with a little more raunchy jokes and stuff. They talk about, dicks and stuff. So that's pretty funny. Also, for Juice, he wanted to know about some nautical movies. There's this cool little movie that came out in the 70s. It did pretty good. It got a few sequels, I think, called Jaws. And there's like a pirate in it, and I think there's a cop, and it's about a big fish, and they say a bunch of nautical shit. So I guess it'd be perfect for summer if you want to check that out and put it on your little nautical list there. Anyway, can't wait to listen to the show. Y'all have a good week. Bye.
Cool. Yeah, gotta get those.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies.
Gotta get those nautical movies in before 4th of July and spooky season kicks off.
That's right. Squeeze them in.
Squeeze them in. That's interesting. I didn't know that's what the after party was about. I'm curious to know how comedic it is. If you're comparing it to Clue and not it's just straight horror, or I'm sorry, mystery thriller, then presumably it's more comedic.
Sounds like he said there's a bunch of dick jokes.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
dicks are hilarious. Everybody knows that. Yeah, that sounds awesome, man. I'd like to check that out actually. The after party.
Ben
Solid
Schwartz,
recommend.
Sam Richardson, Dave Franco, Alana Glazer. That's a pretty good stacked cast.
It's a lot of names.
Apple is just throwing money at hoping to pull more people.
Desperately
into
trying.
Apple TV. Yeah.
They got Matt. They got Matt's ass.
Actually, I do have Apple TV for another month or something. I need to remember to.
I've heard that a show called Severance is incredible. Just be our guinea pig. Check it out.
All right.
Yeah, watch that
I
shit.
think I've still got it. I'll check it out.
Thanks for calling in, Matt. I wanted to go watch Striper with Matt this week. That was interesting.
You decided to skip what you've been watching. Okay, save it for next week. Save it for next week. Okay.
All right.
Flames.
On the side of my face.
Yep.
Flames.
All the way, all over the side of your face.
If you guys want to leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. Gentlemen, do you have any prompts you want to throw out there for next week?
So I had a talking point that I wanted to bring up during our discussion, but I forgot. So I'll bring it up here. If you wanted to pull off a discreet murder, which one of the weapons would you want out of the Clue weapons? So like
Discreet.
yeah, if you want to like pull off a murder without getting caught, which one of the weapons would you try to murder somebody with?
Good question. There's apparently
candlestick.
I think I'm going wrench.
Most of them are like bludgeoning instruments,
Yeah.
and then you've got the rope and the dagger and the pistol.
Yeah, so the
like,
3 of them. So the candlestick, the wrench, or the lead
and the pipe.
Yeah. And then you got the revolver, the knife, or the rope. The rope is the worst.
Yeah.
The worst for discretion?
Well, just the worst like in any like category, I think the rope is the worst
or whatever.
to get. Well, it's the hardest to actually kill somebody with, just like with your bare hands. And then it's obvious because you'd have to strangle them. And so there'd be a huge like rope imprint on their neck. So you get caught.
It appears. I'm no big city detective.
Big city.
I mean, obviously the revolver is the easiest to kill somebody with, but like I guess you could
far the least discreet.
Yeah, you could hold on to it for like protection just in case somebody gets too close, but you could like beat them with the blunt end, I guess.
I don't.
I
think I'd take one of the bludgeoning ones and do one hard whack, and I think the candlestick is the easiest one to justify sort of hiding in plain sight.
That's true. I picked the wrench because I was like, well, you've got it, and if you ever need like an actual tool to do something. Bob,
if you ever got a leaky pipe,
if you got
you got
Bob, if Bob needs to murder like a little munchkin type figure,
Rod's got the tiniest.
He's got the tiniest candlestick.
It's like a little 4 or 5.
Bob, you should have held that up for your frame freeze. Did you? Oh, I was looking the other way.
Thanks for paying attention.
I really was. That was my pose, is to look.
Apparently, in the British version of Clue, the game was called Cluedo, and there was another weapon that was poison.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
You could actually poison people, which was mentioned in this movie. Yeah.
I mean, it was definitely mentioned.
I'm glad that they included that, though. That's interesting.
Yeah. Call in, let us know hypothetically what your preferred murder weapon would be. And
tell me if how are you gonna get away with this?
What room?
How can you get away with the murder? I'm just, curious.
If you grew up with this movie and it like influenced your love of horror, I want to hear from you. Call in, let us know.
Yeah, for sure.
I want my brothers in arms to show up.
Validate us.
Yes, that's what this whole podcast is.
It was Randy in the kitchen with his taint.
Safe
Feast upon me.
I got a goddamn taint buffet over here.
That would be in the dining room, I believe.
Yes.
I mean, Randy if we wanted to do it proper, I guess.
Randy with
like
the
nothing
taint
I'd ever smelled before in my life.
In the dining room.
Randy taint, while popular in Cantonese cuisine, is not often found in Washington, D.C.
I found it's pretty popular in Washington, D.C.
It is commonly found in Washington, D.C.
It is very.
Nay.
Randy taint dwells in Washington, D.C.
That's where it's raised.
Looking for the freshest
farm-raised
Randy taint. Where should I go?
Farm
artisanal, regionally sourced Randy taint.
Is this free range taint?
I delight to the senses, isn't it, my friend?
Artisanal taint. Oh man, it's not gamey at all. I promise. Well, yeah.
Have we expended that joke?
I think so.
No.
I think we ran the course on that one. That does it for us this week here at Straight Chilling. We'll be back next week with a brand new show. As always, we're going to be talking about latest and greatest from Alex Garland. The movie is called Men. Slam it into your eyeballs.
We're watching Mangs next week.
Mangs. Slam those men into your eye holes.
This isn't the sadness, Bob.
Wow. God damn. Okay.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Until next week, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. You can follow us on Twitter at STR8_chilling, on Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. You can send us an email to our website, straightchillingpodcast.com. If you want to join in on our daily Slack channel conversations, hit us up on one of those social media outlets, and I'll send you a link so you can do so. Make sure to check out Men's to prepare for next week's show. And until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.
I'm going to go home and sleep with my wife.
Doubt it.